there are definitely demonic entities that push that, for sure. And one of my friends at church, she has a friend who used to be a tarot card reader, telling people's fortunes and stuff. And that person told her that they got their information from demons.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Things You Don't Hear in Church podcast. My name is Ethan.
And my name is Derry.
And guys, go check us out on social media. We finally have been posting on Facebook. It took us about 3 years to.
Well, we've been posting on Facebook for like 4 years, or
like
3 years
indirectly,
but just like when you post to Instagram, it automatically posts to Facebook. So it's one of those kind of things.
So we finally are actually being like intentional with Facebook, mainly because I deleted Instagram and hate it, and all I have left is Facebook. So I'm like, might as well be alive there.
So he's just addicted in a different area.
Addicted in a different area. Better addiction.
He's gonna become radicalized by Facebook. That's what's gonna happen.
Radicalized by all the Karens out there.
Yeah.
So we got a TikTok, we got YouTube, we got Instagram, Facebook, Patreon. Go check us all out. All the links are below. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah, so today we're going to start a series that we're doing of interviewing people about their testimonies. I know we usually have topical episodes when people come on, but we've really been thinking about like, man, there's some powerful testimonies on the internet. And I think we don't do this a lot in the West, but the way that a lot of people communicate is through stories. You communicate like large, good, powerful themes about life, right? And so we want to hear from people and their stories. So we've reached out to a few people, and today we have Nguyen, and she's going to share her testimony today. Some things that have happened to her in her lives. It's going to be awesome. So Sydney, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Is there anything you want to share before we get into it? Anything you want to plug? You want to shout out your mom or anything?
Sure. I'll shout out my mom. And I'm definitely going to show her this. So, Mom, I love you. I don't know. There's probably some things you're going to hear in this that you didn't know about me.
Dude, my parents always listen to the show, and I just hope I never get asked to share my testimony on any other podcast.
You know your mom's will listen to this show too.
Yeah, I'm not sharing my testimony. So
yeah. My parents always listen to, and I will reference things I grew up raised. So my dad will text me. He was like, "Thanks for the shout out." Welcome, Dad.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So we'd love to hear about your story. We know like you've been through some new age stuff in your life. Is there a place that you want to start with your testimony?
I think probably around high school. But overall, I was raised Catholic. I did mention that to you guys. I went to Catholic school since 3rd grade.
Wow.
Through senior year. And
so were your parents Catholic?
Grew up, yeah, okay. They are. My mom is, because my dad just passed, so they were. But yeah, so I went to church every Sunday with them, and went to an all-girls Catholic high school too. So around that time, I was really starting to question stuff. And we have a religion class also, but just my mindset, I didn't really care about God at this time, but I would still pray every night, and I was just used to praying every night, and just certain things with the church I didn't agree with at the time, like abortion. I was pro-choice. I was really for gay rights and stuff. I was like, why would a God care about this? Like, there's so much more important stuff in the world than, what people are doing in the bed, or like, stuff like that. I was like, why would a God even care about that? And then in religion class, I remember like there was a moment where I decided I was done. And I asked my teacher, because she was teaching about like confession and stuff, and saying that you have to go to confession to get your sins forgiven. And I was like, okay, well, what if like I sin, I go to confession, get everything forgiven, and then I sin after, and then I die? Am I going to go to hell because I wasn't able to make it to confession before dying? And she said, yeah, I would go to hell because I wasn't able to confess it. And there was like other stuff that just didn't make sense to me. Oh, she also said that heaven was a mindset and it's not an actual place.
I think that's a J.
and
Cole
things
lyric.
like that.
That is a J. Cole lyric.
Heaven is a mindset.
I've
I've
been
been
a
a couple
couple
times. Dude,
She's
that's
hip.
crazy.
Yeah,
She's hip.
maybe that's about it. I don't know. But I was just like, okay, there's a lot of contradictions. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done. Like, it's just not possible to go to heaven. So why am I going to try?
Wow.
So I'm done. And I think that was my sophomore year. So then after that, I just didn't care about God. I still prayed every night, though. That's the thing. I was
Wow.
like, God, I don't care about you. I don't feel anything for you. But if you're real, then show me that. And then I would just still pray for like family just in case, because I was just so used to it. I did that my whole life. So I told God, I don't care about you. I don't really believe in you. But if you're real, then just show yourself. And then these are the things I want to pray for. And then I got to my freshman year, and it was the worst year of my life. I moved down to San Diego. I was down here by myself. I got so lonely. I was in a very toxic, kind of abusive relationship too, with someone who was in Orange County at the time. And anytime I came back down to San Diego, he just like wouldn't even talk to me.
Whoa.
And then, yeah, it was weird. And then obviously you leave your hometown and people are off in college. So like I didn't really have friends that were in town, and definitely not really friends in San Diego. And I went through something that I was just completely alone in, and I would just cry in my dorm room. And I just started praying to God, and I was like asking God for help, and I started turning to God a little. And then I think I was like getting into like having a relationship with God, but I still didn't really know. I was going to a Catholic church. I never really had, yeah, that's something I wanted to add. I never really had a relationship like truly with God, because even throughout going to Catholic school and church my whole life, I just was never really taught about Jesus truly and having a real relationship with him. For me, or to me, Catholicism was just very ritualistic and not really about having like a relationship at all. So I was like starting to try and have a relationship with God without really knowing how to. And eventually I got out of that relationship. I was really into God. And then I started dating this guy who was an atheist, he said. And I would be so like hyped on God, and I would tell him about like different things about like signs that I got or just different stuff that I was learning, and he would just shrug me off and like roll his eyes and not want to hear it. So eventually I stopped talking about it, and obviously I'm spending so much time with him that I just like drifted away. And
this is during college?
Yeah, this is probably my sophomore year of college. And yeah, so I drifted away from that, and actually no, it was in 2019 to 2020.
Okay.
And then it ended like kind of early 2020. But yeah, so that relationship was really toxic also. It wasn't like as bad as the other one, because that one actually, the first one was like physical too, but this one was more like mentally, yeah. And it was just bad. I was getting, and near the end, I was having horrible anxiety. I was just depressed, and we lived together too. And so yeah, finally I ended that, and I was like, okay, I want to give my life to God. I don't want any guy to turn me away from God again. So I'm like really going to be intentional about developing my relationship with God. So this was probably like around October-ish, or maybe earlier, of 2020. And then he moved out already. He was done. And I was just fully gonna chase after God. And this is where I started dating somebody else, but he was Christian, and he actually taught me a lot, and I like saw him living out like his faith, and that really taught me a lot, because I would ask him a lot of questions, and he would be able to answer them. And like he even pulled out his Bible one time and was like showing me all these scriptures, and I was like, wow, that's cool. We only dated for like a few weeks, but I feel like that really showed me somebody who could live a Christian life and like give me an example of that and like how to live that out. So yeah, this is where I was like, okay, I'm really being intentional. But then my sister, she had gotten into like psychics and stuff. And she was telling me about it. And as you can see, I want marriage. I wanted like, you know, all the things. I wanted to be married by the time I was 24. It didn't happen. And so I was just really chasing a timeline and stuff. And so I really wanted to know if I was going to be married soon, if I was going to meet the guy. I wanted that. And she started seeing a psychic. So then I started to see a psychic. She gave me that person's number. And that person, she gave me like a psychic reading. And she talked, like she mentioned God in it. So I was like, oh, okay, like this is godly. Like I'm on the right track. I didn't know.
How did she mention God? Like in what context?
I do not remember exactly what it was, but she just kept saying it throughout. And she never said Jesus or anything, but she just said like God. And I remember one thing she told me also was that I had like this spirit with me, which was like the spirit of a great like uncle, or I don't know, something like a man that was in my family past that was watching over me. And she was like, because you're special. And she said like that I was really special, and God had like I think like God just had like a purpose for me, and that I was so special that he even gave me this like ancestor to watch over me and stuff like that. And I was just feeling like, wow, because I was really down at the time, obviously. And she was able to tell me all about my past and like things that I struggle with. She was able to tell me all of that. So I really was believing this. And then I even started to get into like stones or whatever it's called.
Like the crystals? Yeah.
Yes, I started getting into that because I was on TikTok, and obviously it started making me that curated For You page where I started getting tarot card readings and like learning about crystals. And there was one, I don't remember the name of it, but it was like a green crystal, and it said that you'll attract like everything at once and stuff. And people were saying that they were able to attract their husbands and like love, and everything that they needed was like fast track. So I bought it. I went on Etsy. I bought it. I would wear that necklace. I really got into it. And zodiac signs, I had always been into zodiacs. I even got a tattoo of my zodiac sign on my ankle, and like I put it there as a symbol that it was like the foundation of who I am.
Did you find that? Did you find that anything changed when you started wearing that necklace? Like, did you actually start receiving things, or was it maybe more possibly like a placebo thing where things happened and you just assumed that was because of the necklace?
Yeah, it was probably placebo. I mean, we know that like that doesn't really do anything, but it was probably placebo. Plus, I was just going through so much change in my life at the time. Like, that guy, like breaking up with that guy, and then like meeting these new Christian guys or whatever. So yeah, it was placebo.
But you did start meeting people more when you started wearing the necklace?
I was on a dating app, so I was meeting people.
Yeah.
That's how I met that guy. And then I did filter it to Christians. So yeah. I mean, I met people, but I was on a dating app. So
that's so funny. You're like on the dating app, and then you're like, wow, it's the crystal's working.
I know. Like, oh, it's bringing these amazing people in my life. But I mean, it didn't even work out. And I went on a few dates with people, but I remember I had like two different psychics or mediums that I would or no, like fortune tellers. I don't know if it's the same thing. I had 2 different ones that I would be calling and texting regularly.
Wow.
And yeah.
Are you paying them like for
oh,
texting them and calling them, or is
not for texting, but for the calls and stuff, I was paying for it. And then I would even have those like tarot card readers on the For You page. And I remember I reached out to one and I paid for a tarot card reading too. And she also did these things with like beads and stuff. Like I was fully into it. I fully believed in it. I was looking at that all the time, like manifestation, law of attraction. Like I just was doing all of that stuff while I was still reading the Bible and thinking that I was being really spiritual and like getting close to God, I thought. And,
do you remember what they would say to you mostly?
Like in their readings?
Yeah.
Probably just stuff about like having a like love coming soon or something. It was probably stuff that kept me going and kept me thinking that. And I remember one time specifically, I texted one of the like fortune tellers or something, saying I was going on a date. And she was like, "Oh, what's the guy's name?" And I told her, and she was like, "Okay, make sure you wear red tonight." And she was like, "Yeah, good." Because I was asking her like, "Oh, should I go on a date with him? Or is it like a waste of time?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, like that's a good one. Wear red tonight." And I'm like, okay.
It'd be really funny.
Like, dang, I don't have anything red.
Yeah, or it'd be funny if she's like, "What's his name?" And you're like, "You're a fortune teller. You prove it. Show me."
I didn't even think of doing that. But
I'm just cynical.
I did wear red that night, and it was an awful day.
Dang.
And we never spoke again after that.
Dang.
Yeah.
Oof.
But I think just slowly there were things that I was like, they're like not on track right now. Like that's not really true. And so I started to be like, I don't know about this. And then I was pursuing my relationship with God. At this point, I was like, I'm not Christian. I wasn't anything. I was like, I don't believe in Catholicism, so I know that's not me anymore. But I just want to have a relationship with God. And if there's a religion that matches what I've been personally learning with God, then I will say that I'm that. But right now, this is just me and God. And so I would read the Bible, I would pray, and I know someone on TikTok asked me, like, was there an exact verse that made you understand that what you were doing was wrong? And there are verses that talk about like witchcraft and stuff, but I can't pinpoint it to an exact moment that I realized it was wrong. I just, as I got closer to God, I probably was just dropping those things slowly.
And how are you learning?
Like
during this time, are you just like trying to spend time with God, or are you reading the Bible, or are you talking to people?
Both. I don't know if I was talking to people because I didn't really know too many Christians. That one guy that I dated early in like my decision making helped me a little, but like we stopped dating, so I wouldn't really talk to him that much.
Were you going to church at all?
I sought out a church, yes, but this was around the time of COVID.
Okay.
So I think I found a church in San Diego, and I think I went to a few of the services, but then it closed up again. So I couldn't go for a long time. And yeah, because I didn't really know where to look, I just I didn't know what religion or what church to go to, but I found out what non-denominational Christians were. So that's how I even found that church. Yeah, because like they're not tied to anything. So I was like, oh, perfect. And I went to this church and I actually really liked it. And then but yeah, it closed. So yeah, then I sought out my relationship with God. And then I think what really, really changed for me, even though I was Christian at this time, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. Like I had this anxiety that was always on my chest, and it was always like down my arms, and I would just like, it was a physical pain too. Wow. And I just didn't understand it. And
how long had that been happening for?
I'd say at that time, it was like for as long as I could remember. Not like in the past couple years, like especially in my relationship where I was living with the guy, I think all of 2020 probably I had that anxiety, and then the beginning of 2021. And then I remember in 2021, one day I had a call out of work because my anxiety was so bad. And it was a Sunday. I called out, and I remember that there was this church across the street from my gym that was open, and I didn't know what kind of church it was. So I was like, you know what? I need to get into a church. I need to do something about this. And like, obviously I didn't know too much about God at the time to know that like God can take this stuff from you, and like how to pray and like give that stuff up to him. So I looked up the church, and they had service in like an hour. And so I was like, okay, great. And they stayed open through COVID. So even though every church was supposed to be closed, they stayed open, and it was a non-denominational church. So I was like, perfect. And I went, and when I walked in, I was like, I can't go here. Like, I don't know. It's I don't know. Do you guys know the Rock Church?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so it's like a big church like that. And I had, coming from a Catholic church, I was like, whoa, this is a lot.
Yeah.
And
was it like a mega church?
So it's not mega, but I've never been to the Rock, but I've seen how it is, and it's like that same setup.
Okay.
It's kind of concerty, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a big church.
I just was not used to it. And so I was like, I'm never coming back, but I still just stayed for the service. But during worship, one of the worship leaders was like, I feel like someone in this room needs to give something up to God. Like, I don't know what it is. I just think, you know, you're going through something right now and you need to give it up to God. And so like she added an extra worship song. And ever since going to that church, that has never happened. Only that one time that I went. And I started crying. I started crying so much because it felt like God was speaking to me. And so I kept going to that church, obviously. And it was such a good church. I was really learning how to apply the Bible to my life. And I really like attribute where I am today and like the things that I've learned to this church. So I made the decision before to like give my life to God, but I think that I really became a Christian and like following Jesus because of this church. So that's kind of where like my journey led me. And throughout the years, I've just been like slowly getting closer and closer to God and like losing things from my past. I remember I would still go to church and I would still have a relationship with God, but I would go to the gym and I would be listening to like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and things like that, and like listening to very, very secular music, and I didn't feel bad about it at all. And eventually, I remember one time I was working out and I was listening to it, and I heard something like, why are you feeding this to yourself? Like you should be feeding yourself something better than this. So I was like, whoa, what's that? And so I was like, okay, like let me find something else to listen to. And then I like I started listening to podcasts that my church has and just other like Christian stuff. I would start listening to that. And eventually I would turn on like my Cardi B type of stuff to work out to, and I would just feel awful doing it. And so I just stopped listening to all that stuff completely. But a lot of my journey has just been that, like slowly losing things from my past. And to add, my parents were against me being Christian too. My mom's gonna hear this, but she was against it. Both my parents were. I was so excited to like share my journey with them because I thought they'd be really happy that their daughter was like having a relationship with God, like they wanted. Like they sent me to school, thousands of dollars so that I could have that. But they were like, you're being brainwashed and you should be careful. You should not be going to those churches and all this stuff. And it was really sad. And I actually have gotten into a lot of arguments with my mom about it. And sorry, Mom, you're going to hear this, but it made me realize that they really didn't have a relationship with God because they just believed in like the rituals and stuff like that. Like doing those things was good enough, but they did not believe in God. And I feel like my mom's starting to get around to it now. I don't know. I mean, hopefully, Mom. But yeah, they were really against it. So I didn't talk to them about it for a long time because of it. Yeah, I guess, do you guys have any questions from this?
So when you were at the church and that worship leader is like, I feel like someone needs to give something up. Or when you say you felt like God was speaking to you, was he asking you to give up the New Age practices, like the crystals? Like, was there something specific, or was it like the whole thing?
I think it was my anxiety.
Oh, okay.
Like giving whatever that anxiety was up to God. At this point, I think that I wasn't into it anymore.
Okay.
I feel like I left that New Age stuff in 2020. I wasn't into it for a long time. Zodiac signs I was into my whole life, but like I said, I cannot pinpoint the exact moment that I gave up the New Age stuff. So yeah.
Did you notice anything happen in your life when you did stop like using crystals or going to the psychic or anything like that? Or was it just normal?
It was just normal, I think. I think there was like a shift in my life because I stopped with like the dating apps and all of that, and I really just started focusing on myself. And I was like, God, I'm not trying to find any relationship. Take out people in my life that is not for me. Like if there's a guy that's not for me, just don't even put them in my sights. Like I just want to be with you and pursue you. And I mean, I just fully started coming to Christ and trying to learn. I remember at one point I was like, I just don't even want to go to school. I just want to constantly sit here and read the Bible and just spend time with God. Like, I don't want to do anything else.
That's awesome.
So I didn't do that, but I wanted to. Like, I just wanted to sit there and do that all the time. So I just really started pursuing that relationship. But I feel like the church helped me navigate that and like actually learn how to apply like things in my life and gave me that direction.
Are you still at the same church that you heard the worship leader say that?
Okay. I am.
And that's the Rock, right?
I love it. It's not the Rock. It's called Awaken Church.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just feel like people know the Rock better.
Yeah. My parents actually went to the Rock like when I was being born, way back in the day.
That's cool. That's cool. I would have loved to grow up in a good church like that.
Did you find yourself having to unlearn or relearn certain things from when you were a Catholic back when you were in high school and growing up to when you started going to a non-denom?
Yes, that is so good. That was a battle that I was having because it was so ingrained in me that you must do these things to be saved and like go to heaven. And that thing about going to confession, I remember feeling so much like guilt. I was like, I don't know, what if I'm just telling myself that I'm forgiven because I have to go to a priest to get my sins forgiven? And I remember it was such a battle that I was like, who's right? Because I don't want to go to hell. So like, I don't know what to do. And it was really, really a battle.
Wow. How did you, or maybe you're still dealing with that, but how have you tried to deal with that since like kind of having that anxiety?
I think because I just got closer to God and the teachings in this church just made so much sense, and different things that I would pray about or different stuff that was happening in my life, I just really believed that this is right. This is, I believe what this church is saying. And I just started to fully believe in that. And then I was able to just slowly give up that feeling of anything about Catholics. And the more I thought about it, there were just a lot of different things about Catholicism, like praying to other things than God, like praying to saints, praying to Mary. It's just like not right. And so it made it easier to kind of let that stuff go. Not to bash on Catholics.
You're fine.
Go
ahead.
Did you experience, I kind of asked this, but just to like really flush it out, did you experience any pushback you feel like from the enemy or anything as you started to learn more about God, start to take your relationship with him more seriously, anything like that?
Yes, I'm sure I did. And especially just getting into the New Age stuff, that was so clearly the enemy trying to take me and turn me in a different direction because he knew that I made that decision. So just a lot of things like that. And I think friends in my life were definitely trying to turn me away. I remember that. I actually had to drop 2 of my best friends because it started to be really toxic for no reason. And it was at that time that I started going to church. And I remember I even invited one of my friends to the church with me and to a women's connect group. And she just started making fun of everyone that was there.
Wow.
And yeah, and just different things. She just started to be really mean to people and like judging me and stuff like that. So I feel like the enemy was trying to use the friends in my life because she was so nice before. It was just so random that she started doing this stuff. She started to like make up lies about me and like it was just so weird. She never did that before. And so other friends did that as well. And so I had to drop them. I really feel like that was the enemy using my best friends to turn away from I don't know, do something to me, but it didn't work because I just dropped them. So.
Yeah. What is your opinion now, looking back on like the crystals and the tarot card readings and the psychics? Do you think that that's just all pretend and placebo, or do you think there's demonic entities and powers behind that are pushing that thing?
There are definitely demonic entities that push that. For sure. And one of my friends at church, she has a friend who used to be a tarot card reader, telling people's fortunes and stuff. And that person told her that they got their information from demons.
Wow.
And yeah, that demons would literally talk and that's why they're able to tell you about your past, because demons know your past. And then they just kind of work off of that, your past, to kind of tell you your future or whatever, but they can't actually tell you your future. So I definitely believe in that. I feel like probably crystals maybe do something, not in a good way though. I mean, you're probably inviting something into your life. All of that stuff, it's real. And I talked about that on my account before, that it is real, which is why it makes you think that it's legit, that it's good, and it's not. It's actually powered by demons.
Have you seen a lot of like follow up to those videos that you've made on TikTok, or anybody in your personal life that you've been able to help with like your knowledge of going through like psychics and crystals and stuff like that?
I have seen so many people in my life that are into all of that stuff. And I try to share that with them, but I also don't want to like push it in a way, because I mean, that stuff, that's like a religion for people.
Yeah.
And I think that I just live my life in my, like, the way that I live it, and I post on TikTok, but I also don't want to force people and just be like, no, that's so wrong or whatever. I pray for them, and I'll probably drop it like, oh, that's kind of witchcraft or whatever, but I won't like sit there and be like, this is wrong because of this or that or whatever, because I think that this turns people away more. my sister was the one who told me about psychics, but she doesn't do that anymore. So that's amazing.
Do you know why she stopped?
I mean, she was doing it because she was also going through a breakup. So I think after that settled, she just kind of stopped.
Gotcha.
But yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah. Have you seen a lot of people agree with you on TikTok, or have you gotten a lot of pushback about your stories that you posted on there? Mostly about like the new agey kind of things.
I have gotten pushback about it. I think a lot of the people that do agree with me have gone to battle in those comments for me, because I could not sit there and try to do all of that. I just
It's a lot.
I've made responses. Yeah, I've made responses to it, but yeah, like it is a religion for people, and because they see that it's real and it works, they really, really believe in it. And people, yeah, they just say that crystals are not demonic, and but they don't really believe in God either. I think those new age people, they believe in the universe. That's something else is about new age, is that so much of it parallels Christianity. Like the law of attraction or karma is a lot like how God just kind of like, he promises to kind of have our back on stuff, and like he's not like karma, but if someone wrongs us, he will take care of us. He tells us not to have revenge on people, let it go, and he will take care of us. And I feel like that's what people that believe in karma do too. They're like, hey, you know what, I'll let it go, karma will deal with them. And it parallels a lot, I think. So people are being really deceived, which is what the enemy tried to do to me, was deceive me.
Yeah, it's always interesting because I think we do a lot of like evangelism, and it can be really difficult to talk to some people who are new age, because I feel like it looks different for almost every person who's in the new age. And so, like, if I'm talking to a Mormon, it's like I pretty much can know what they believe. I know where they stand on topics. I can ask questions, and they're all pretty much going to say the same thing. When it comes to new age, I have found it's a whole new ball game every time you're talking to someone, and that's like, that kind of shows the importance of just when you're evangelizing, talking to understand people and where they're coming from. But part of what I've thought about, and I want to ask people when they are new age, is like, do they believe in good and bad spirits? Because if they do, then like, what's the source of those good and bad spirits, and how do they discern if they're good and bad? Because I would think like, well, if they're like, oh, I feel like it's good, I'm like, but what if the spirit's just like really good at lying to make you feel good? And I have yet to have that conversation because I haven't run into a new age person in a little bit. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on that as far as like, what is the view of the spiritual realm from the new age perspective? Are there good and bad? Is it all neutral? Is it like we get to decide and we kind of have authority over it so we can manipulate the spiritual to our will? Like, what does that look like?
I think that, just from my experience, definitely believe in good and bad spirits. And that's also why people wear this kind of like the jewelry, the crystals, and like the evil eye bracelets or evil eye stuff, because it's like repelling the negativity. So they believe that, or like saging your house and stuff like that, that repels the negative spirits or anything negative at all. And they also have angel guides. That's another thing that I was really into, angel numbers, spiritual guides. And anytime I saw like 777 or things like that, I was like, oh, that's a sign of my angel like telling me something. So it's very much believing like, if you wear this, if you do this, you're going to repel the negative, and also praying to spirit, angel guides and stuff like that, that they would give you signs, that they would do stuff for you, help you get certain things and stuff like that.
Can you explain a little bit more about like what an angel guide is and like where you got one originally, or how you found out about it?
I think one of my friends, she was really into it. She would always tell me how she saw these numbers like all the time and certain things, and then I would just Google it, like, what does it mean? And she was like, seek it out in your life, like look out for numbers because your angel guide is probably talking to you. So I was like, okay. And she said that she was Christian too. So I just, and it's angel. So you think that it's of God.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would look out for those numbers, and I would, because I'm looking out for those numbers, I would see these numbers all the time. And I would think that it was real and that it was my angel looking out for me. And I would just get really into it. I would look up stuff about it. I would see videos about it on TikTok. And did that answer the question?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who think in like Gen Z, it's a lot more acceptable and like practice to engage in new age or like light magic, if there is a such thing, or like white magic people call it. And I know like the organization we work with has polled a bunch of different students, and like I think a third of the students polled said that they know someone who practices witchcraft or they've engaged themselves. And so it's becoming a bigger thing. And so you said you were like still reading your Bible and pursuing the Lord and trying your best while also doing this. What would you say to people who are also doing that and thinking it's acceptable and like, yeah, like I can do both? Or like, what would you encourage them in to lead them to further truth?
I would tell them that, first of all, it's amazing that you are seeking a relationship with God. And because you are doing that, because you have so much purpose and potential in your life, the enemy is trying to deceive you. It happened to me, into thinking that this stuff is either of God or that it's okay. And I know that a lot of it can be appealing. A lot of it can parallel Christianity, but it is of the enemy. And if you go down that path, you're really inviting a lot of demons into your life. You're going to have that anxiety like I did. You're going to have different things that are going to happen, like different oppression in your life, different things you're going to deal with. But if you give it up to God and you let him help you discern it, ask God, what is of you and what is not? Help me to get rid of the things that are not of you, which is a prayer that I had. And he did. He took those people out of my life, like those people that were toxic, that the enemy was trying to use, took them out of my life. And it's a hard prayer because I lost my friends, but God will help you discern what is right and wrong.
Mm-hmm. And is there a way they can know for sure, like for like people who are like, I practice the law of attraction or I have this crystal, like is there a way that they can identify like how they know it's wrong? Because some people might be like, oh yeah, I hear people say it's wrong, but like how do I know it's wrong? Is there a resource that you would point them to? I would think the Bible, but I don't know if the Bible says specifically like crystals, you know, so it's obviously it's a longer conversation, but yeah, what would you say would be a good guiding factor in discerning what's good and bad?
I think the biggest thing that I apply to everything is that God doesn't need a conduit to do whatever it is you are asking for in your life. He doesn't need you to use a crystal. He doesn't need you to use this. He is powerful enough on his own. And that mindset has helped me with like even praying to saints and stuff like that. He doesn't need you to do that. When you have a direct line with him, he's powerful enough to just protect you and cover you on his own.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. It reminds me of in Hebrews when it says like boldly approach the throne and receive mercy, right? Like that's what's so amazing about Christianity that I don't know if other religions have that, is we are invited to go directly to our God without a mediator, you know, and we don't have to like clean ourselves up before we do it, you know, so that's good.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Sydney, we'd love to have you on. Is there anything you want to share before we go? Any last thoughts?
Nothing. I feel like I've literally poured out everything.
That's awesome. Well, we've really enjoyed this conversation. I know we've learned a lot. We loved your story. I know it's probably blessed a lot of people that have listened as well. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, and then for our followers, if they want to find your content, what is your TikTok so that we can point them in the right direction?
It's Sydney Nguyen _. Do you want me to spell that out?
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. SYDNEYNGUYEN and then just an _.
There you go.
And that's my.
Sweet.
Cool.
Yeah. Well,
And
guys. Go ahead.
You upload to that regularly, or?
Pretty regularly. Yeah,
Cool.
I have been lately.
Cool.
So you hear more about things that I learn and my journey on there.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Right on. Well, guys, go follow her on TikTok. Her link will be in the description below. Follow us on TikTok and everywhere else, and we'll see you next week. Bye.